What's going on, guys? My name is Jericho, and this is my voice. That video you're watching, you're not hearing me speak. This is from a live stream. I needed some background so I could do a get personal / real talk thing going on right now. If you guys don't know, sometimes, very rarely, there's a reason for me to do a sort of serious video. You know, one where you actually try and think about something and you're like, oh, okay, like let's take a moment to think about that. Well, this time I was taking a walk and I realized a couple things about perspectives that kind of helped me ironically, is that the correct use of ironic? Ironically, change my perspective on some things. I know that something tells me it's not the correct use of perspective. Why am I not even playing in the video game? The world may never know, but I actually do pretty decently in this game, so I guess that's the reason I left it here. So back to what I was actually talking about. Perspective is crazy. It's one of those things that has a lot of moving parts to it. So, when somebody says anything about like, look at it from my perspective or change your perspective on something, whether it's you got a negative attitude or you got a positive attitude at a funeral, because that, maybe change your perspective on that one, buddy. I guess you'd be happy if you were the one doing the kill. I don't know in what circumstance you'd be happy at a funeral, but you know what? It could happen. So, when somebody tells you to do something like that, it's not as simple as flicking a switch. Not a lot of things are, but perspective is important to understand. It's like a gateway to empathy. It's a gateway to understanding things that that you might not have understood before. It helps you learn. It helps you better yourself as a person. There's a lot of things that go into it. Now, I was walking Grizz last night, and I was thinking about how it was kind of ridiculous to me that there were people out there that liked a certain type of content. I don't want to name names, but there's a lot of things currently on the internet that I'll watch, and I'm like, I am really amazed that somebody enjoys this. But you know what? I guess that somebody really does enjoy it. And that'll happen to a lot of things. It happens to me with music. It happens to, I'm sure, you guys with food. Like, somebody goes out there and eats balut. Look it up. It's like BALLUT. Go Google that shit and then make sure you're not hungry, because you won't be afterwards. It's a food people eat, okay? And you gotta say sometimes, in a little bit more serious notes, not necessarily just pertaining to food, you got to say sometimes, let me try and change my perspective on something. So when we talk about that, it's kind of crazy, because what you're basically asking somebody to do is to just literally become somebody else in their minds. Like, go ahead and change something instantly, okay? We don't see eye to eye on this. You might even see you might even see like a completely opposite viewpoint. But what, for that brief moment, what people are asking you to do is to literally try and change who you are as a person and understand where they're coming from. And that's super hard to do. It's like really hard to do. And in fact, it's actually pretty scary sometimes when you realize, this is not that easy. Why do I even need to care about this anyways? And you get into an attitude where, you know what? Your perspective doesn't really matter that much to me. It's a lot of effort to try and change your perspective on things. And it's a lot of effort to even be, empathetic towards somebody that you cannot understand without putting in the work to wrap your head around however they might have gotten to that reasoning. It's pretty crazy. And I know it's a little complicated and convoluted because I suck at explaining shit, but the most important realization of a late night dog walking thing was that I got to kind of put in the effort to try and see things from other people's perspectives. And you can't necessarily fault people for how they see things. Does that make sense? Yeah? No? Okay, let's rehash this. All right, you can't really make an issue out of people seeing things differently. Why? Because there's that stuff that they almost have no control over. Think about it. When you sit down and you go, hey man, why do you like steak? You're like, shit, I don't know. It's beef and it's delicious and it's like eating like buttery. I don't even know what I like beef for, but it's delicious. Okay, that's the only reason. You know what? Somebody out there might not like beef, and it could be a completely arbitrary reason in your head. I'm a vegetarian, or I just don't like the way steak is cooked, or I don't know what it could be. And you might think to yourself, like, that makes zero sense. Like, yeah, I can understand you maybe not liking the taste of it, but like not liking the way it's prepared, or not liking the way it looks is kind of a weird reason to not like a food. And it's not a big deal, right? You probably aren't going to make a big stink out of it. But guess what? In like a super serious situation where somebody's legitimately getting upset over something, or maybe somebody's not getting upset over something, maybe somebody's really like, not empathetic and just watches another person slowly down the sidewalk after they get stabbed, and you're like, what the fuck, dude? How do you not want to help this guy? And the dude's just in his head like, you know what? I don't know. I don't think that it's my duty to step in and change the natural order of things that might have unfolded. And you're just like, what? That doesn't make sense. You know what? All his life, he could have been taught to never step in. And that's one thing. You might not agree with it, but it's important at times when you're in a situation that there are people with a completely different viewpoint than you, to realize, it's not necessarily their fault 100% of the time. The Westboro Baptist Church, and for those of you guys that don't know, the super racist, anti-gay, like loudmouth, basically we want attention protesters, their entire lives have been spent getting told that, like, by their parents and their friends and their family around them that, gay people fucking suck. And you know what the issue is with this world? Is gay people and black people. And, it's just like, whoa, I don't really understand how you might see that viewpoint. And you might not ever need to agree with that, because I certainly as hell don't. But I can at least understand the method of getting into that mindset. I can at least understand the reasons that are, that there are things that put them at a higher likelihood in life to be assholes. And it helps you cope with things. Honestly, it helps you kind of step back and not get into worthless arguments. I mean, if a kid drops his ice cream cone and starts bawling, and you know what? That's like the worst thing that could ever happen to a kid his age. The only thing he cared about right then and there is the joy of that ice cream cone, and it was robbed to him by gravity and the ground. Yeah, I'm going to be like laughing at him like, dude, that's the stupidest thing to cry over. Like, my girlfriend cut off the tip of her finger and didn't cry, so I don't know what you're crying about, but like, perspective right there. Right? Perspective. Nobody's problems are bigger than anybody else's. Nobody's problems are smaller than anybody else's. And there's no viewpoint that you can't or should not be able to say, all right, I understand why they're at that point in their life, or why they're at that point with their mind. And it's probably not worth arguing, because it's a hard perspective to take. Like, it's a hard way to look at things. It took me a while to understand the Westboro Baptist Church people. So guess what? It doesn't really bother me that they're doing all this shit. Yeah, it's really obnoxious, but at the same time, nothing I say is going to change how they feel. They are going to be like that till the day they die. Like, honestly, there's nothing that you can say or do that's going to make them change that. So why even bother? Just not even worth the effort. Helps you cope with things, helps you manage yourself and not get into stupid arguments. And like I said, it really helps aid in being empathetic towards other people's problems. You don't have to enjoy the fact that somebody is crying because their new Porsche has like mud stains on it. You can sure as hell understand that because they've been sheltered their whole life, this is probably the worst thing that can happen to them. Be empathetic and just say, I'm not going to even bother going over there and laughing at her, because that's just going to, so much effort is going to be required to like laugh your way out of that. She's going to get pissed, all that shit. Same time, don't go out of your way to make somebody else feel uncomfortable because, you grew up without a parent or your parents, and you were raised on the streets literally, and then you fought out of whatever the fuck you are, or wherever the fuck you were, to get to a prominent position in your life. Like, that is amazing and awesome, and people will definitely feel good for you. But you should never use that as a tool to make somebody else's problems feel smaller. Everybody, there is always somebody that has it way worse than you. If we all use that argument, nobody would ever get shit done, because we'd all be like, well, you can't complain about your war-torn country because Japan got literally nuked and millions of people died and suffered for that. And you're like, you're right. Honestly, now I guess I can't complain. It leads to a whole slew of problems. So anyways, horrible rambling stories. This is why I don't do it that often, because sometimes I don't even know what the fuck I want to say. Thank you guys for sticking through. If you guys are still watching this, if you're not, hey, I don't know why I'm even addressing you, because you're not even here. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. My name is Jericho. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. The main point I wanted to get across the too long did not read is don't belittle somebody else's problems because you think that yours are worse. Try and put yourself in their shoes, as well as understand that there's a lot of effort that goes through, stepping out and challenging somebody when you can just take the time and effort yourself to understand their plight, to understand their issues, and then maybe realize it's not worth the effort. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you all later.